In this episode of the Unsaid Podcast, we're talking about the identity crisis that hides inside normal 20-something life. Why chasing too much, or drifting too long, leaves you with the same ache. A life that moves fast, but doesn't feel like the one you actually want to be living. We'll look at what vital energy actually is, why it runs out, and what you were supposed to be building with it all along. Subtitles are here if reading helps you stay grounded. Take this in slowly. You're the one who thought they had time. Time to figure it out. Time to explore. Time to be young. You told yourself, I'm just getting started. But now you're not so sure where that start actually was. Or maybe you're the opposite. The one who couldn't wait. You chased everything at once. The job, the money, the freedom, the proof. You wanted to build your life before anyone else could question it. And now you're exhausted, but afraid to slow down. Either way, you're here. Old enough to feel the pressure, young enough to still pretend it's fine. And the questions start creeping in. Why does everyone seem ahead of me? What if I'm wasting my 20s? What if I'm doing everything right, and it's still not leading anywhere? You try to convince yourself, this is just a phase. You'll figure it out next month, after the next trip, after the next project. But underneath all the noise is this one quiet fear. What if I've been spending the most important decade of my life on everything except who I am? Here's the part no one talks about. Your 20s give you something no other decade will. A kind of invisible energy. You move faster, recover quicker. People forgive your mistakes more easily. You can get by on charm, on instincts, on potential. It feels like a cheat code, like life's on easy mode, just for a little while. But that's the trap, because most people, when given free energy, don't build structure, they build speed or comfort. Some of us race. We use that energy to chase money, status, freedom. We squeeze out every drop, waking up early, building brands, moving city to city, and we think we're evolving. But what we're really doing is outsourcing identity to achievement. Others drift. We tell ourselves we're young. There's time. So we scroll, we snack, we get high, we wait. We avoid pressure by avoiding everything. And what we're really doing is teaching the brain that ease is default. Here's the psychology of it. Your 20s are a neuroplastic window, a period where the brain is still shaping long-term patterns, not just what you do, but how you respond to effort, failure, boredom, risk. So every year you spend outsourcing meaning, whether to success or to pleasure, you're laying tracks for a future that feels either empty or stuck. And because you're running on youth, both extremes feel okay. The hustler gets results. The drifter feels free. But neither is building roots. Because this isn't the decade of mastery, it's the decade of exposure. To try, to fail, to experiment, to actually feel who you are across different contexts. That's how identity forms, through friction, not performance. So yeah, don't take your 20s too seriously, but don't take them lightly either, because the version of you that turns 35 or 40, they'll be living inside the foundation you're building right now. And here's the part that hurts the most. Even when you realize something's off, you still don't know how to stop, because both extremes come with rewards. If you're the one always chasing something, you get praise, you get results. People admire your drive. You don't have to ask who you are when you're always becoming something new. But the second you slow down, you feel it. The emptiness underneath all that motion. And if you're the one drifting, you get relief. You get to escape the pressure. You get to live in the moment. You tell yourself you're choosing peace. But deep down, you're haunted by this quiet thought. What if I'm just hiding? That's the loop. The achiever stays busy so they don't feel lost. The drifter stays still so they don't feel overwhelmed. And both keep repeating it because the alternative, actually sitting in the discomfort of becoming, feels too heavy. And it makes sense why you do that. No one teaches you how to tolerate uncertainty. No one tells you that identity doesn't arrive. It accumulates. And the only way to gather those pieces is by living through the parts of life that don't come with instant feedback. So you keep bouncing between doing too much and doing nothing at all. Not because you're lazy, not because you're broken, but because you're scared to slow down, to start small, to not be amazing yet. And that fear becomes a rhythm, one that feels just familiar enough to mistake for your personality. You didn't waste your 20s. You just didn't know what they were really for. No one tells you this, but youth comes with a kind of hidden currency. Call it energy. Call it momentum. It's the confidence to try without knowing, the resilience to bounce back fast, the emotional flexibility to shift identities without breaking. That's the gift. And here's the trap. Because it's invisible, you don't realize you're spending it until it's almost gone. So, you do what you were taught to do. You chase approval. You chase ease. You chase progress. You build what looks good on the outside, because no one ever taught you how to build what holds up on the inside. And the worst part? You think it's your fault, that you're lazy, undisciplined, behind. When really, you were just never shown the map. You weren't told that your 20s aren't about being impressive. They're about impressionability, about trying things, failing at them, noticing what sticks. But the world around you doesn't reward that. It rewards speed, certainty, results. So instead of learning yourself, you learn how to perform. And when the energy starts to fade, when the freedom doesn't feel freeing anymore, you blame yourself. But what if you were never supposed to have it figured out? What if the real mistake wasn't drifting or hustling, but never being told that your most powerful tool in your 20s wasn't what you did? It was how deeply you let yourself become? Most people think you become someone by figuring it all out in your head. But that's not how it works. You don't discover who you are by sitting still. You discover it by moving, by doing things before you're sure, by showing up as the version of you that feels right today, even if that version changes by tomorrow. Because here's the part no one names. You are not one single self. You're a whole internal system, a rotating cast of yous. There's a version of you who wants silence, another who wants to scream at the world until something answers. There's a grounded part, a reckless part, a dreamer, a cynic. They're all valid. They're all you. And the point of your 20s isn't to choose one forever. It's to give those parts space to breathe, to see which ones feel like home and which ones don't. That only happens through experimentation, trying, failing, trying again, not labeling every outcome as success or failure, just information. Psychologists call this process self-authorship. It's not a path to finding your one true self. It's about building a deep relationship with all the selves inside you, the loud ones, the lost ones, the ones still learning how to speak. So instead of asking, "Who am I really?" ask, "What could I try today just to learn something honest about myself?" You're not late. You're not broken. You're just in the part of life where clarity comes after contact. And you can't contact anything if you're too busy waiting to be certain. Let it be messy. Let it be non-linear. Let it be yours. Here's what the science says, and why this decade matters more than anyone told you. Your brain in your 20s is still under construction. The prefrontal cortex, the part that handles decision-making, long-term planning, emotional regulation, it's still wiring itself together. And every choice you make, every risk you take, every relationship you invest in is shaping the architecture of who you'll be. This is your most flexible decade, not because of freedom, but because of neuroplasticity. The brain learns patterns early, then protects them later. So the habits you form now, the risks you take or don't take, the way you respond to fear, failure, boredom, joy, these become your defaults. If you don't use this window, you don't lose your life, but you lose the easiest chance to make it your own. So start, not because you're behind, but because you're in it. right in the middle of the most alive, uncertain, irreplaceable years of your life. Say yes to the things that scare you a little. Say no to the things that keep you small. Let your life stop being a performance and start becoming an experiment. And if it still feels messy, good. It means you're not settling for someone else's script. You don't have to know where you're going yet. You just have to know that you're the one who gets to choose the direction. And if no one's told you this yet, you're doing better than you think. Don't stop now. If something in this landed with you, leave a comment. Tell me which part felt true, or what you're still figuring out. I read everything. And if you want more episodes like this, you know what to do. Thanks for being here. I'll see you in the next one.